So in the past, I've shared a number of different tips for Lego investors when you're getting started, and you want to build up a business around investing and reselling in Lego. And every Lego investor needs to have this one skill. This is honestly the most important skill out of everything else that I've talked about in the past, because this one is intertwined in everything. It's part of whether it's buying, sourcing, listing, selling, building relationships. It's part of everything that you do as a Lego reseller, and that is to have discipline. Discipline makes up the core of everything that we build on as part of this business. It comes into everything. It comes into your buying strategies, how you approach the different sets that you're buying. It comes into your selling. It comes into your target prices and your hold time and everything that's involved in Lego investing. So I'm going to break this down a little bit and talk about the importance of having discipline and why you need to really think about this in your business and try to make sure that you stick to it and try to make sure that you're sticking to your game plan. So why is discipline so important? Well, if you think about it, right, what we're doing here with Lego investing is we're buying these sets. Firstly, Lego is an obscure kind of a alternative investment, and a lot of people, maybe you're new to it or you've only been doing it for a few years, but it's unlikely that you've known about Lego investing for all of your life like you may have known about stocks or real estate investing. So in general, the idea behind Lego investing is quite new. And and when you talk to your friends and family or your significant other, you probably have to convince them a little bit about this thing that you're doing, right? We talk to people all the time who, their number one challenge is their spouse. And why is there so much Lego taking up the spare room or the basement? When are you going to start selling things, right? You're doing a lot of buying, you're racking up a lot of credit card points, but when are you going to start selling stuff, right? And so that alone requires discipline, because you need to have belief in what you're doing. And especially if you're in the beginning of your journey and you haven't started selling yet, which again, a lot of the people we talk to are at that stage where they're doing a lot of buying and they're kind of doing a lot of the research and learning and sourcing, but they are not yet at the point where they're going to start selling their first batch of sets, right? And at that point, you need to have so much discipline, because you have to have belief in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, and you need to have discipline just to stick with it, right? Just to keep kind of going with your investment and keep putting more money into it, so that you know that when you start to sell, you will be able to make enough of a return to make your work and your research and all of the background stuff that you did at the beginning worthwhile, right? So you need to actually have that extra bit of discipline at the start, just because you're investing without seeing any returns. Investing in something without actually selling it and without actually seeing is this actually going to work yet, that requires a lot of discipline, that requires a lot of focus. And so that in itself is an area that everyone who is getting into this game needs to be ready to really put a lot of discipline into. If I'm not going to sell something, I need to have a lot of focus on actually sticking to my plan, because I know that in a year or 2 years, then this will pay off, right? So, that's the first area that discipline comes in, and it's super, super important at the very beginning when you haven't proven your game plan yet, you haven't proven your business model yet to yourself or to anyone around you. And so, you need to kind of, rely on the research and the things that you've learned in order to stick with it. So that's one area where discipline comes in really, really strong. Now, when you're sourcing your sets and you're actually going out there and you're loading up the car, this is where discipline, it really, really takes hold. We talk a lot about having a target list. And what we mean by target list is essentially, it doesn't need to be a physical list. It doesn't need to be in Excel, but you should have in your mind some sets that you want to pick up, right? So you should know, this is what I'm looking for. And firstly, that in itself is going to help you to have discipline, right? Because now you're actually starting to narrow down based on your research. And we've talked in the past about, getting good at a particular area or niche, whether that's a theme or a sub-theme or something like that. And, so the idea behind that is so that you can narrow your focus a little bit and you can become an expert in that area. Now, when you do that and you become an expert, you start to build your target list. Now, these are the sets that I understand very, very well. and I think they're going to do well in retirement, and they're available right now. So those will make up your target list, right? In the back of your mind, you know the sets that you want to get. And everyone kind of subconsciously does this. You know in the back of your mind what you're looking for. But we like to get really clear about exactly what it is we're actually going to buy. And the reason that we do that is to basically inject discipline into our business. Because if you don't know what you're looking for and you don't know exactly what sets that you want to buy, then essentially what's going to happen is something goes on sale and you're just going to buy it, right? You're going to see 20% off or 30% off sale, or, you know, there's a big competitive sale with Amazon, Walmart, Target, all dropping prices at the same time. And you're just going to get out the credit card and you're going to start buying. Now, that's obviously lacking in discipline, right? Now you're kind of all over the place. You don't really know much about the Disney princess theme, but you see it's 30% off and you're just going to start buying them. You know, you're going away from your game plan there, and it's much better to just get clear on exactly what it is that you're trying to buy based on your research, based on the things that you know, and then sticking to that target list. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't avail of opportunities when they come up. You know, there's often sets that come up that I wasn't really buying actively, and then the opportunity kind of makes me rethink things and pivot a little bit, right? But and that's fine to do, but at least, you know, you need to have a baseline of your target list and then have discipline against that target list and try and check off the items on that list and try to, I guess, minimize the amount that you stray from the list. So if 10 or 20% of your purchases are off of your list, then it's fine, but at least you know that, you know, 80% of your stuff are exactly what you intended on buying, and you can rely on your past knowledge and learning to make the right decisions. So discipline in buying is really, really big. Now, this gets difficult when you're in, you know, our free Lego investing Facebook group. People post deals all the time, and it can get a little bit, you know, tempting if you see a great deal to just jump on that deal. You know, my target list only has 20% off right now on all of the sets that I want, but this other set has 30% off. Shouldn't I just change my strategy and just pick that up? Just do a little bit of research if you see something that wasn't on your radar before, and then you know what you're getting into. But you know, just try to avoid buying blindly, right? And that just comes down again to the discipline. Having discipline in your buying decisions and making sure that you are staying on track and staying on course and working towards, you know, a specific goal and strategy that you've outlined is really, really crucial. Now, this gets difficult in other scenarios. So let's say, for example, you are doing some retail arbitrage. You're out in the wild in a store. Let's say you're in a Walmart and you are loading up your cart with one or two sets that you knew you wanted to buy, and they were on your hit list, and you are kind of following your game plan. But then you see something else on the shelf and you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm here now. I'll save on gas fees if I just pick up another couple of sets. And then you just start to get tempted, right? So you can get tempted by links posted in our Facebook group. You can get tempted by things on the shelf that are a little bit discounted. And retail stores are masters at trying to put things in front of you that might entice you and encourage you to buy. But when you're going in there to source for your inventory for your business, it's very important to try and have discipline again in that trip that you're taking, right? You're there for a specific purpose. You're picking up a specific set, and try to focus on that, no matter what promotions they throw at you, no matter what amazing displays they might have in store to make you think that this set is the next big thing, next big opportunity. Just focus on your game plan, and at least, you know, go away and do some research if you decide to buy something else, and then go back and get it. Just don't buy on impulse. Impulse buying as a Lego reseller it's not a good it's not a good way to go. So, you know, discipline in your buying in general is really, really crucial in Lego investing. Now, another area that discipline is super important, and I think there's a lot of people here that are going to relate to this one, because in the reseller world in general, whether you're reselling shoes or toys or video games, this can become a problem, and that is doing too much sourcing and not enough selling, right? Now, drop a comment below if you disagree with this, but I believe that Lego investing is even harder to do this, right? It's even harder to actually start listing and selling your stuff for a couple of reasons. Firstly, if you leave the stuff for a couple of months, the price will probably go up, or the value will probably go up. as opposed to down, right? If you're a video game seller, you might want to try and sell the stuff fast before other sellers find the deal and tank the price on Amazon. But if you're a Lego seller, we play the waiting game anyway. So if you just wait a little longer before listing it, it can, it's not as bad. It's not as big a deal. So a lot of people tend to just sit on stuff and not actually list your death pile, as they call it. Now, sourcing Lego, I think, is a lot of fun. I personally really enjoy buying, right? The buying is the side of my business that I really enjoy. I think I'm really good at that. Now, sourcing Lego is obviously a lot of fun. So it can be very, very tempting to not sell the stuff and just keep buying, right? Keep putting more and more money in and letting your inventory grow and grow and grow. Now, the thing is, if you don't sell the stuff, obviously you may run into cash flow problems, and it's better to just turn over your stuff and stick to your plan. Again, it comes back to sticking your plan when it comes to your holding time, right? If you decided that you wanted to hold your stuff for a year or 2 years, 18 months, then, when that time comes, you got to start switching your mentality for those sets and making sure that you're focusing on that other half of your business, which is selling the stuff, right? And it's just a little bit less fun sometimes. So having discipline, again, to making sure that you're listing the stuff that you're buying. You're not just sourcing, you're not just building up your inventory, you're also moving the stuff out, right? Sending it back out the door and, reinvesting that cash flow. That's also critical. And it is an area that's a little bit harder to have discipline in, but maybe it might help to do like a schedule for yourself and have certain times of the day where you're going to list items, prep orders, do the kind of selling stuff. And then other times of the day or other days of the week where you're actually going to focus on sourcing, buying new stuff, going out to stores or doing, online deals. Now, it's not always that simple because Lego investors, we need to be ready to buy whenever a good deal drops, right? So you can't really allocate hours for that. But if you're doing some sourcing out in the wild, you can do that. Just a kind of a thing to keep in mind to try to make sure that you're being disciplined with your selling activities if you're someone who doesn't really enjoy that side of the business as much as the sourcing side. Now, expanding on this idea of selling and having discipline in your selling is hold time and how long you should hold your sets for. And when it comes to hold time, discipline is also really, really important. Now, I'm not saying that you should always stick to your plan when it comes to hold time. Maybe you wanted to sell something as a quick flip and when you first bought it, and then you think, I'm just going to hold this actually as an investment for another year or two. Or the opposite, right? Maybe you bought something for a 2-year hold time, and then you decide, I'm going to just quick flip this now because it went out of stock on Amazon, the price suddenly jumped in Q4, and you may as well sell it. You can everyone should be ready to pivot and to make changes in your business. But still, when you're buying something, you should always have a plan for how you're going to sell it. And, that could be an approximate plan, right? Is this a long-term hold? Is this a 2-year hold or a 1-year hold? What is my approximate price target to sell this set at? Is it, 3 times the retail value or more? These are things that you should have in the back of your mind based on your research before you actually make the purchase. And you want to try and stick to your game plan when it comes to your selling. The reason for that is because you can get tempted, right? So like I mentioned before, if you planned on holding for 2 years and then you suddenly decide to quick flip, you should just double check that you're making the right decision when you're pivoting, right? And keep your original game plan in the back of your mind. In some cases, it's better to have discipline and stick to your game plan and avoid getting, tempted to liquidate the inventory at a price that's lower than what you think it will go for. If at one point when you were buying this set, you thought you could make, 200% return on investment, and then in Q4, you see the price jumps a little bit and you can make 40% return if you sell it now, do the calculations, right? Kind of think through it and figure out, is it better to wait? Sometimes it can be tempting to just jump in and liquidate stuff and, take the price that's currently selling at. And I guess settle is a good word for it. Settle for this will be good enough, I'll take it. And sometimes you can do a lot better than that if you just stick to your game plan and stick to your holding time and the plan that you had outlined when you bought it, your selling target and or your target price and all of that stuff. So, it is important to have discipline when it comes to your hold time as well and your selling price, because that will dictate, your overall returns, and it can be a little bit tempting to just take a little bit less sometimes. And one other thing that I will say about discipline, and I talked about this in the past, but I will keep talking about this because I really want everyone to fully listen to this and understand this, is you need to have discipline to avoid the hype. Right, I alluded to it when I talked about buying and jumping on deals because someone else posted it, but it doesn't only go to jumping on deals. It also it comes to like the new Lego sets that are being released, right? Obviously the Lego group will do a big marketing campaign when they're releasing some new stuff, and maybe they're doing a new theme. Recently we had the new Carnage and Venom Spider-Man helmets, which are amazing. Things like the Sesame Street set, or the space shuttle. There's been some really awesome sets recently, and I think it can be very, very tempting to deviate from your game plan and buy some of those new sets because they look so good. So really what this all comes down to is having a game plan and having discipline with your game plan. And again, I'm not saying you always have to stick to your game plan, right? You don't always have to be like, okay, 2 years ago I said that this is what I was going to do, now I got to do it. That's not the point here. The point is just to have some focus and perspective and direction in your business so that you know exactly what you're trying to achieve and you're always working towards that goal, right? And discipline is what's going to get you there, because you're going to avoid the deals that you otherwise might buy just because it's a deal, might not even be a good set, might not be on your radar, and you will avoid the hype, right? Whether it's a Lego group marketing campaign about the new Carnage set that looks really attractive, and maybe you want to buy it because you think it'll be a quick flip, but maybe you've never done a quick flip before, and so it's kind of just hype that you're following. Having discipline, sticking to your game plan, sticking to your business model, the way you've been doing things in the past, and being strategic about making changes. And then having discipline when it comes to your selling and making sure that you're allocating time to your listing, time to your, the selling side of your business, making your processes more efficient, right? And some of that work can be just a little bit daunting, and focusing on areas of the business that are very, very necessary, but just a little bit less fun than going out and buying Lego all the time, right? Making sure that you're creating healthy workflows and processes so that when the day comes that you're selling 100 of a certain set because it suddenly hit its price target, you're ready for that, right? You've put enough time into the selling side of your business and you're ready for it. You've got the supplies you need. You know what you're doing when it comes to the platforms and everything like that. And you haven't just been learning how to buy, you've also been learning how to sell. So and being disciplined about focusing on areas of the business that are just a little bit less fun is crucial to be successful. So that's it. That's why I think discipline is the most important characteristic for a Lego investor, and it interlaces in everything else that we do. So, if you need to build on one thing, that is an area that you should definitely be focusing. If you found this video useful or enjoyable in any way, please do hit the like button. It really, really helps us out. It helps new people to find the video, and we really do appreciate that. So once again, I'm Shane from brickbucks.net. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.